Collectors drive today's luxury watch market, and their ever-rising standards have prompted brands to release an onslaught of limited editions that go above and beyond our wildest dreams in terms of design, craftsmanship, and symbolism. For example, if a model has been to space, is favored by a celebrity, is double-signed, or represents the last of its reference, its desirability skyrockets. Every new release appears to warrant warning your financial advisor about potential damage, despite the fact that there are only so many available. How many of these watches are not just amazing timepieces, but also worthwhile investments? Welcome to the luxury world. Get inspired with us today and tomorrow. There are many promising new releases this year, especially from the rising stars among the independents. But it's tough to say which models will sell well and which won't. Join the luxury world in yet another video showcasing a list of the most collectible timepieces of 2022 if you want to play it safe. Before moving forward, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay updated on our latest uploads. Now first on the list is the Patek Philippe Reference 5470 1/10 second mono pusher chronograph. The Patek Philippe Reference 5470 possesses all of the characteristics that are currently considered to be essential for a watch to have in order to be considered collectible. These characteristics include an ultra-thin design, a high-frequency escapement, a steel sports watch design, and a manually wound chronograph. The 5470 offers every feature imaginable and more. The CH29-535 PS movement was in development for 10 years, and it has a total of 31 patents. 7 of these inventions are brand new. The display of 1/10 of a second on the central dial, simultaneously with a standard 1-minute central chronograph seconds hand, is the key technological marvel that this watch accomplishes. It has 2 independent chronograph movements, one of which drives the central chronograph seconds, which is white, and the other drives the 1/10 seconds hand that's sporty red, which goes 5 times quicker around the dial once every 12 seconds. Both of these hands are visible on the dial. Because 2 chronographs require a significant amount of energy, the movement has been highly optimized. It has a NevaFlex mainspring that increases barrel torque without increasing thickness, a 1/10 second hand made of Silver, which requires 3.35 times less energy to operate than steel, and a salad of silicone components in the escapement, which equips it to handle the friction of high frequency. Both of these features were included because 2 chronographs require a significant amount of energy. Even though it's not a limited edition, much like all of Patek's complexities, it will only be produced in a limited quantity. The official price is listed as upon request, and some secondary dealers are just as coy, placing price upon request on their product pages as well. One watch news website gives a selling price of CHF 380,000, about $399,847 for the watch. Aside from that, the 5470 does not appear to exist at this time on the pre-owned market. Rolex Air King Reference 126900. The Rolex Air King is not the same as the Daytona, the Submariner, or even the Explorer for that matter. But we want you to hear us out on this one. On the surface, it appears to be a straightforward, reasonably priced at $7,400 stainless steel sports watch. Yet, this was also true of the Patek Philippe Nautilus at one point in time. In fact, for decades until it wasn't. Is it possible that the Air King will become the next cultish outlier and the underdog in the parade of stainless steel sports watches? The new Reference 126900, which is replacing the 2016 model, has the same dimensions as its predecessor, measuring 40mm in diameter and featuring an oyster bracelet, a black dial, and green text. However, the case has been revised to include straight sides and lugs. More importantly, it now features crown guards, which places the Air King in the brand's professional watches category. Despite the fact that it's the only one of the brand's watches to combine crown guards with a polished non-indexed bezel, it's still the only one with crown guards. The fact that there's now a 0 before the 5 on the minute scale is perhaps the next most visible alteration. As a result, each 5-minute interval is now denoted by 2 digits, which is something that will immediately separate the 126900 from models that were produced prior to the year 2022. Additionally, the applied numerals, hands, and triangle hour markers have all been filled with chromalite, which is a lume that is exclusive to Rolex. It's outfitted with a Rolex caliber 3230, which is a superlative chronometer that has been validated by the COSC. It may be purchased at retail for $7,400, but the going rate on the secondary market is around $11,000 at this time. Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Self-Winding Flying Tourbillon Extra Thin, RD number 3. What would be a compilation celebrating its 50th anniversary be without a virtuoso showpiece? RD number 3, which stands for Research and Development, is a virtuoso edition of a symbol that manages to keep its design integrity intact, which is a very challenging combination to pull off. It's quite similar in appearance to the new 16202 Jumbo, except it does not have a date display and it features an addition of a flying tourbillon. The watch has all the hallmarks of a royal oak, including a dial with a blue nuit tapisserie pattern, Benoit hour markers and hands, and an 8-sided bezel with screws. The dial has been stripped down to its most essential components since it does not have a date window, the word automatic under the brand name at 12 o'clock or a logo at 6 o'clock. In addition to this, its dimensions are 39mm by 8.1mm. It's not as nearly as thin as the record holder Bulgari's BVL 288, but it's also not as broad, and it features a full core rotor rather than a peripheral rotor. It's important to remember that before the RO came along and grabbed the show, Audemars Piguet was well known for its complicated timepieces and small profiles. It has a full rotor flying tourbillon, which gives the impression of being an all-around spectacular depiction of the brand at its greatest. As a collector's piece, this one is nearly impossible to top thanks to the 50th anniversary rotor. Because the price is available only upon request and manufacturing is restricted, acquiring one will be much more challenging than acquiring a royal oak, which is already a challenge in and of itself. On a number of watch news websites, the price of the model has been reported to be CHF 157,500, which is $165,726 at the current currency rate. One reseller is selling a Prior Steel 41mm Royal Oak Flying Tourbillon with a different caliber and a different dial for around $325,000, but it has not yet appeared on the pre-owned market. Patek Philippe reference 5172G Chronograph with Salmon dial. In the realm of watches, Salmon is an extremely uncommon variety. It's rare and uncommon, and only a few select manufacturers have utilized it for their special editions. This is a tradition that stretches back to the 1930s and 1940s, when it was originally introduced to the market. The hue is eye-catching, but in contrast to a vibrant orange or a striking red, it's more understated, neutral, and classy. Because it's used so infrequently, it's considered to be of great collector value. It's not an exaggeration to suggest that this dial type may fetch a premium of anywhere from 50% to double, or even sky-high costs, depending on the brand and the model. Several Salmon dials are one-of-a-kind creations that were made in response to special requests from customers. Patek Philippe's Salmon-colored references 3970, 5004, and 5970 were among the models that rock musician Eric Clapton commissioned the company to create for him. A couple of years ago, the reference 3970, which was manufactured in 2008, was purchased at Sotheby's for slightly under $800,000. In 2020, Philippe sold a variant of Patek's famed reference 1518 with a Salmon dial for a little over $3 million, while Sotheby's sold a rare pink-on-pink reference 1518 in pink gold with a Salmon dial for $9.5 million in the previous year. Naturally, a premium price will be asked for any reference 1518, but the asking price for a Salmon-dialed version is in an entirely different stratosphere. The Salmon dial is a new addition to the reference 5172G, which was released for the first time in 2019. It's a great watch with pump pushers, dual sub-dials, syringe hands, the absence of a date window, and a tachymeter scale that gives it a sporty touch in addition to the manual wind caliber CH29-535PS. Aside from its pretty color, the watch also features a tachymeter scale that gives it a sporty touch. Consider the Salmon dial a fantastic catch if you have the connections necessary to get one at retail for $80,431. Rolex GMT Master 2 reference 126720 VTNR. The most apparent difference between the new GMT Master 2 and its predecessor is that both the crown and the Cyclops date window have been relocated to the left-hand side of the case. On the other hand, it might be worn on the left hand, with the crown merely turned to the other direction, so that it does not squeeze the C's on your wrist that forms when you bend your wrist. It's important to note that two-tone Cerachrom itself is a rare material. Rolex first introduced its proprietary ceramic formula in two tones in 2013, and it's only used in certain sports models. The green and the black bezel are unique to this line. The bezel, which is green in this model, is identical to the one found in the Submariner date. When flipping the crown, it also meant that the Cyclops glass had to be flipped from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock, which gives the watch an appearance that is wonderfully peculiar and unusual. There is a choice to be made between a Jubilee bracelet and an Oyster bracelet. The item may be purchased on the pre-owned market for anywhere between $30,000 and $40,000. despite having a suggested retail price of $10,050. Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Jumbo, reference 16202. There's not just one version of the Royal Oak watch. Rather, there have been hundreds of iterations manufactured over the past half-century in a variety of metals, complexity, and limited editions. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the model, and to celebrate, Audemars Piguet released a Jubilee variant that would have been a desirable collector's item regardless whether or not it had an anniversary-themed rotor. The new Royal Oak Jumbo reference 16202 takes the place of 15202, which had been the reigning jumbo since the year 2000. The 15202 was the purest manifestation of the distinctive design, as it solely displayed the time and date. The jumbo has utilized the same movement, the caliber 2121, ever since it was introduced in 1972. However, the 16202 utilizes a new movement known as the caliber 7121. Both are extremely small, but the 7121 has several unique design features that set it apart from the 7120. These modifications include moving the logo from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock and adding a double hash index at 12. Aside from that, it has the same time-honored design that collectors are familiar with and adore. Don't try to mend something that isn't broken. That's all for this video. Tell us what you think about it in the comment box below. Also, if you liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button below and smash the notification bell to keep yourselves updated every time the luxury world uploads a new video. See you at the next one.